Welcome back. This is part 2 of my conversation with Wendy Parr, a holistic vocal and artist development coach. Today we caught up about some of her life's achievements and setbacks. If you haven't caught part 1 yet, it's linked in the description below. Enjoy.
Sometimes I think there's this elusive thing I'm going for, but since I don't know what it is, I'm not getting it. And it's so interesting because here's a whole conversation we can go into right now of what Chapel Roan is talking about. I think that we need to compliment and uplift each other, uplift strangers. Hey, I'm not perfect. I get angry, blah, blah. Drivers drive me crazy. Making my day better is like, how can I walk through my day in a way that feels better, is kind to the world? And can we start the trend of just like complimenting and uplifting each other? Really nice. And then with artists, I literally just say thank you to somebody. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I loved you in this film. You cracked me up so much. You're terrific. And the response is always the same. What's your name? Thank you so much. We shake hands and then we have a conversation like two humans.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm not asking for more. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, I worship you. I'm saying, thank you. I appreciate what you've done. Chapel Roan, who's talking about, hey, when I'm off the clock, I want to be off the clock. I don't owe anyone my time. And this is the conversation like I've shared with artists for years. Like we need to change. It's really about emotional intelligence. We need to change the audience's awareness of their role, right? The artist's role is to move your audience, is to take them on an emotional ride. The audience's job is just to show up ready to go on a ride and then say, yes, I'm on the ride. Thank you. This is thank you. And not worship celebrity, not demand more because you think without them, I can't have that experience. And that's just a really big cultural shift, like humanitarian shift, right? That we're not worshiping power, money, and celebrity. I had a whole conversation with an artist about this yesterday.
Okay.
When we expect an outcome, our behavior and our intention really shifts, right? And then we get disappointed and then we feel we're failing, or then we feel like, but when we let go of the expectation of outcome, amazing things happen because you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. You're playing, you're saying yes to something that you may have not have said yes to because of the outcome you thought you wanted. It's literally how I met my wife. Like I was just going on a date with the drinks. Like, do I want to spend 2 hours with this person? Yes. And I say swiping because we met on an app, which I've never met anyone on an app, never dated from an app. And so my brain was like, well, this isn't my person because we met on an app. But I literally was open to like, can I have drinks with this person? Does this seem like someone I could talk to for a minute? And then if after that, I'm not interested, that's it. And so not expecting the outcome is how I ended up meeting my wife going, wow, I really like being with them. And then we apply that to your art. I have a show opening in London. I have a show. My songs are in a new musical that's opening in London.
One and the same.
That is a completely surprise outcome of an album that I wrote on and vocal produced. I can tell you over and over in my career, that's absolutely happened. The surprise, like I didn't know I was going to be a music supervisor on a film. I didn't know I was going to write all these original songs and then produce them. Like letting go of expectation of outcome, whatever it is, it supports your purpose. There's something that you want to do and learn from it. You like the people, like just getting into something and being a part of it. Oh, I'm exploring and playing and fun. And when we let go of our idea of what the right outcome is. I mean, how many artists have been dropped by a record label and you think, oh, my career's over, and then the best stuff comes?
Yeah. The whole theme of the show, those lowlights that lead to the highlights, you have to travel through them.
So when we let go of outcome, enjoy the experience we're in for the sake of it. Obviously, you have an intention, like you got the big dream at the end of the vision in your mind. You've got this thing you're aiming for. I think we have to have those. Let's say have to. They drive us through the moments, right? Like our passion and our dream has to be bigger than the moment to move through them. But the destination is a moving target. Like it's going to be shifting and changing and surprising you. I'm building something right now with my Compass program. Basically, someone asked me, oh, are you going to do this down the line? Because if you wanted to, I would help make that happen. Like business person was like, and I went, oh, that wasn't even on my radar. But actually, I'm building the entire infrastructure for it right now. So give me a minute, right? So I'm kind of like, I'm doing this and I'm going to turn around and go, oh, I just made this and it wasn't my intention to make it, but I'm creating all the parts for it. And then in the end, that's what you call it. And that's what it is. So that also happens. I have artists who are so successful and they became the lead singer by accident.
Right.
Like they didn't set out to be like, oh, I'm going to be the celebrity or the lead singer in front. And they're still kind of astounded by it. A few of them, right? Oh, the lead singer had to drop out and the drummer stepped in, and or just if there's a few, and there's a few artists like that. Whereas other singers are like, I have always known I wanted to be a singer.
Yeah.
We all get their different ways.
Absolutely. I had a conversation yesterday, day before, with a client of mine that wanted to start to actively build their career as a full-time musician rather than part-time. Brilliant. Let's work on that. And they so actively went at, well, how many songs do I need to write? And where do I need to, what kind of color gradient works well, what kind of angles, what kind of script writing works well for socials. And I was like, whoa, let's just pause. What have all of the tracks gone towards that you've shown me in the past year or two that we've worked together? Like, because I haven't seen those on Spotify. What are all the little kind of ideas and things that you've built beforehand? Because as you said, we're working over here and you've got all of this other stuff that you can make as, or sell, as multi-purpose projects, whether it be sync licensing, non-exclusive libraries. You can put that on your socials and build out your portfolio as you're posting this stuff. And I think that's a brilliant thing that the artists have in their bag, all artists, but obviously we're speaking probably, most notably music, where we kind of chip away at this thing that we're going to sell anyway, which we're always kind of learning, building. You get ideas from or inspiration from, well, let me just try this new chord progression. Let me just try this new vocal run. Let me try this melody. And then you go, oh, that's a great idea for a song. Then you work on that for a bit and then you park it and you find the new thing. And there's all of these parked demos that you're just sitting on gold. And the reason that they sound fantastic was because, as you were saying, you were in that flow state. There was no expectation. You were kind of just allowing yourself to receive these ideas from wherever throughout the day and then put them on the page. And then you went on to the next thing. And it's normally when we apply that pressure to ourselves that we're like, okay, so today I'm going to write the song that I sell.
Right.
And then you've got nothing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking about surprises, this is what I wanted to share with you today. I know you've had this time and time again. Dude, we chatted a week ago, had never met before, and I was excited to speak to you. We had a fantastic conversation, hence why we're back again. And at that point, I didn't actively share with you that I was in a rut, but I had said that, I do this every day. Sometimes it's quite hard to pull from the well of ideas, this, and this. And you had shared part of kind of the Parr method. And with the little tidbit of information that you gave me, I think it was like 3 points. I went away. It was great. It was the evening. And I went away. I went to bed. I woke up in the morning and almost verbatim the example that you gave me of artists that you sit down with that go, I'll try this gratitude thing, right? You see where this is going? I woke up in the morning. I did my list of 10. I tried not to make it coffee, clothes on my back, but like really dig deep of the things that I am thankful for. Kind of drew up a little schedule of practice roulette of different things I was going to try. The last week has been amazing. Like weird though. Like not only have I got, this sounds ridiculous. It sounds set up for our listeners. Spooky in the sense that the first day I was like, I've just got all this energy. Like I don't want to stop writing songs. Like this is great. Like, I really had to tell myself like, no, you've done more than enough today. Let's just go outside. Let's have a drink. Let's do this. Let's go for a walk. And then the next day I had that surplus of energy, but now I'm excited about it because I'm like, let's see if this can happen again. And then just like opportunities throughout the week as well, where I was like kind of open to them and different things were coming through. So firstly, thank you. Secondly, amazing. What the fuck is going on? How did you figure this stuff out? How did you find that? Like,
I'm gonna drop you another one to do today.
All right, let's put a pin in that one. I quickly interrupt our episode to remind you that Wendy works with so many independent artists just like you and me, and a terrific way to release that music is through our sponsor, DistroKid. One of the elements of DistroKid that really works for me right now is Playlister. It ensures that you connect with real curators of real playlists. No pesky bots. It's a great way to get your music out to a wider audience. And if you want to get 7% off your first year, just head to the link in the description. Let's get back to our conversation. What was the thing that, like, whether it came along when you were working with artists or that you did for yourself or that was shared with you where you went, oh, there's method to this madness?
Yeah. By the way, I'm crying. I mean, you can see by my eyes, I'm crying because that was so beautiful. That like, I'm so excited.
Yeah, dude, I'm so thankful. I'm excited for myself.
It's so good. And also like when I get like these well of tears right here, it's that barometer of oh, we've hit it. We've hit authenticity.
Yeah,
we've hit the special thing. You know, if I'm working with an artist and I come up or they come up with an idea or concept that's like kind of part of the world building, I'm like that one. And there's just this pressure that comes, that's the one. That's, you know, there's the spiciness.
That's wonderful.
Gosh, it's such a combination of, you know, things that I've learned along the way, reading books, my own personal experience, other people I've learned from, and then 30 years of coaching people and seeing our patterns that happen and patterns in people and things that work and don't work. You know, I'm off my game right now, but, you know, I practiced meditation twice a day for years and years and years. I mean, over 10 years. And it's difficult to explain what meditation does because it just changes everything. Literally. Like, I know growing up, like I was really judgmental, and that's because I was really being judgmental of myself and hard on myself. And it was the way I was taught to view the world. It wasn't how I saw the world. And I had to unlearn that. And the first session I do with every artist is called Blueprint. And we talk about why you make music and what you love about it. 90% of the artists tell me I'm the first person that ever asked them, why do you make music? Yeah. And then we talk about what's getting in the way and all this perfectionism. And everybody has the same list of worries, and it's all coming from the outside. Like that perfectionist stuff is not you. It's the outer voices internalized. And so when we're filled with all this stuff and the comparing and as you said, going deep inside yourself and recognizing like, well, what matters to me? What do I actually care about? And what am I grateful for? And I'm certainly not the first to tell you that practicing gratitude changes your perspective of your life, the world. Literally glass half empty, half full. It's such a cliche. You don't know the meaning of it. But when you start practicing the gratitude and you go, oh my gosh, like what am I think I'm missing in life? Look at all that I have. And with all that I have, as you said, I've got all these half-baked songs. Look what I have. Oh, if I complete these, I have a whole catalog to share, to sell, to sync, you know? So I was practicing it. Like I grew up in a house of complaining. And so of course I had that habit. And I started practicing gratitude, and it was hard. Like it was like learning to not bite your nails, shift that thinking. Can I see it differently? So personal experience, learned stuff. The other one I was going to share with you today it's called a money manifestation meditation. Just write a list every day. And every time I've done this, money has just appeared in my bank account. I'm not kidding. And then I think, why do I ever stop doing this? And so I started it again recently. I was like, do not ever stop this for the rest of your life. Right. But I'm not exaggerating. Like there were times that I was like, I have no money. Like my bank account was super low and I was doing the manifestation, and I'm not kidding. Like 10K dropped into my account, and it was an invoice. I think that just hadn't been paid for a long time. It wasn't, I was like, wow, this stuff's really just made up. So the money manifestation meditation this is money that you have. Like your bills are paid, you're saving money. This is just expendable. I get to spend this money. What would I do with it? And you start with $1,000 and it doubles every day. So the next day is 2K, 4, 8, keep going. And very quickly, I have $64,000 to spend. Have you ever had $64,000 to spend?
I've never had $10,000 to spend.
That's right. So you're like, you get to imagine something you've never imagined for your life. What would I do with this money?
So you're doing this daily. You're parking yourself aside and sitting with that thought of like,
just take a moment, two and three. Just look at it. What do I want to do with this money today? You know, and when the money gets big, like I'll share with you because it's not a surprise, but I started finding out what mattered to me. $6,000 or $8,000. I was like, okay, I'm going on a shopping spree. I want fresh clothes and a wardrobe. Fun. You don't keep doing that. Like I didn't keep doing that. I found out very quickly what actually mattered to me in terms of doing charitable things and being of service and buying a house. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm buying another car.
Yeah. But there's science to that. Like they say, I forget the number amount, but there's a ceiling height to that happiness, because
250,000 or 150,000.
I feel like it's 150, but it might have changed because you know
inflation.
Exactly. But like money will make your life easier, 100%. But after a certain point, where you're going to buy 2 helicopters, you're going to buy 4 boats, like and you really do start to
happiness actually goes down. And the same with like below a certain amount is is just too much struggle and survival, right?
Absolutely.
But the amount needed for just happiness in life is actually not a lot. But for me, the manifestation is powerful because it got me to recognize like what matters. And so your spending changes. If you can imagine it, it can happen. If you can imagine the house you want to buy, I guarantee you're going to buy that house. 1 year to 5 years, you're going to buy that house because you're going to start taking all kinds of action to manifest that imagination and that dream that you actually want to complete.
We've had these tremendous highlights and digging deep again. How does A.R. Rahman come into your life?
AR is so special. Okay, this is a long one
You got time?
I will try to. What's that?
You got time? I got time.
Well, it's funny because I've done segments of it for my socials and I was like, I really need to do the whole story. So A.R. Rahman, there's so much to this. This is following your gut. This is listening to the irrational impulses. I was always looking for some sound that I hadn't found yet. And this is why I created Soundchart. Okay. I literally created Soundchart for artists to find that thing. I had on the whiteboard for an album I was starting. One of the things said ethnic sound, just general. I was like, and I've always been searching for this. There's just something elusive I want in my music. That little voice in my head said, remember that movie you saw 7 years ago? Watch it again. It's like, okay, turn on this movie. And I'm like, the actress in this film has just like inspired, hit a nerve. I was like, oh my gosh, who's this woman? She's incredible. So then I just go trying to find every movie I can with her. And the third movie I watch is Morning Raga. And it starts with this music, Mate, Majare. I won't remember all the lyrics because I don't speak the language, but this music starts. I was like, what is this music? So Googling, it's Carnatic, South Indian classical music. And that sets me on a journey. The first film I saw is called Fire, and Shabana Azmi is the actress, and A.R. Rahman was the composer of that song, of that soundtrack. I continue to watch every movie I can get my hands on. A week later, I'm studying Carnatic music in Queens. Shortly after, I'm studying Bharatanatyam with one of the most renowned dancers of India, the Tagore sisters. She was in one of the movies I watched. Right. I'm like, she's amazing. And she's like dancing and she's like, and I'm like, it's from like the 1960s, this film. It's a black and white with Raj Kapoor. As I'm studying Carnatic music, I'm going to the video store in Queens that has the full collection of great Bollywood films. And I asked them, I'm like, what are your classics? What must I watch? And so they give me like Mother India and these Raj Kapoor. And then I start finding movies. I'm like, I love this movie. What would you recommend? I went to my producer and said, I found the sound. It's Carnatic. That's the sound I want on this record. We're going to go to India. I don't know how or when, but I want to play you a bunch of stuff. And I want these sounds in my album. Of course, I found AR in that process, and he was playing in New Jersey. I went out to New Jersey. First, I started going to every classical Indian experience, music event I could in New York. And there's a lot. So I started finding a community there. And Arun runs the film festival, and really just, I fell in love with the music and culture. And then, what's the order of things here? There was a film festival, and I saw that Shabana's film was being screened. So I emailed Arun and I was like, so I don't know if you know the story, but the entire reason I found Indian music and film was Shabana. Is she going to be at the film festival? I'd love to meet her. And she answers back, oh yeah, she's a schoolmate of mine. She'll be there. I get dressed, leaving for the thing, stop myself, go back inside, change my clothes. I was wearing a yellow. Oh, at this point I'm wearing like traditional Indian clothing. Okay. All the time.
Right. Obsessed.
Yeah. So India, what I discovered was India helped me see a pattern of myself. When I get into something, I just immerse myself for 3 years.
Right.
Average is about 3 years. Okay. I'm not a tourist. I immerse. Mm-hmm. And then I come out and I no longer wear Indian clothes. I have a beautiful Indian day bed. And if you see my home, it's like very warm and cultural. And I have a sari that hangs across the top. But I just immerse myself into something to experience it. And that's why I said, like, when I went to India and I loved it, like I thought I was going to move there, and who knows, maybe one day I will, but I realized that I was like, oh, I've done this before. And it's about a 3-year cycle.
What's the phase right now?
Oh, that's a good question. Compass, my business, sure. Like it's building a new world of my business.
You are your
and a community, a community of creatives. Yeah, it's definitely more than a 3-year cycle at this point. But yeah,
great.
It's 3 years.
I'm here for it.
I think we're in the 4th year. So Shabanaji, I this film festival, I was wearing this yellow salwar kameez. I changed into like a deep red and black kind of outfit with this really magnificent coat from Uzbekistan that I found in Turkey. After the film, there was a Q&A and I had an opportunity. Oh, and I'd been carrying a letter, by the way, that I wrote to Shabana. I'd been carrying it for months. And then I put it down and I was like, no, we're not going to meet her yet. Just wait.
Right.
And that night I knew I was going to see her. So I took the letter.
Okay.
And I got a chance, as I do, to say thank you. I didn't have a question. I had said thank you and like what an inspiration you've been. And she was like, oh, come here. And she's like, Vanessa Redgrave is her hero. So she's like, I know what a hero is, come here. And we talked after and she's like, I said, I'm coming to India. She gave me her number. A couple weeks later, I was invited. Oh, wait, that was the second night. First night was the gala. I bid on 2 tickets to India. I got them.
Amazing.
So I text my producer, we're going to India. I just got us the tickets. I bid on an auction, got them. Next day, met Shabana G, who's like, call me when you come. 2 weeks later, she was doing a play. I got invited to go backstage to the after party. And I was like, oh my gosh, can I? Like, wow, I was literally shaking, which doesn't happen often. And when it does, it's me. It's like my body going, this is it. It's just a really strong connection. So at the after party, I met Jasvinder, who sings in this play. Backstage, I said to Jasvinder, to Javed Saab, I said, I'm totally innocent. I didn't know it was your song, but the first song I learned is yours. And he's like, oh, really? What song? So I started singing, which one was that? From Tazib. Apuko muchi se. I'm not going to remember words now. And he's like, what? How do you know this song? It's in Urdu. How do it? And he's so excited, which by the way, he is a jukebox. Get that man started and he will sing every song in the history of Bollywood.
Right.
Like he loves music. He's literally a jukebox. Like we could have sat there all night singing songs. So fun. But he calls, he's like, Shabana, come here. And Justin, come here, you guys. You have to hear her. She's singing my song. So that was like November. The next February, I go to India by myself, land at 3 a.m. I called Jasvinder, who's like, come on over to my house. Come, like so warm, so welcoming. And he pulls out a book and he's like, I have this book. I'm in the book. It's my voice coach's book. And it's about singing. And my picture's in there. I'm one of the teachers. And he's like, I have this book and I do this one exercise, but I don't know how to do all the other stuff. And I'm like, I got you. I start teaching him some Western singing and technique, which he's already familiar with Western music. He was a godsend and he really helped make my whole album happen. He helped find every musician. He helped me get the studio. He helped be like a translator, not from language, but musical language. For example, we would say, okay, double that. And if you said that, they'd be like, I don't know what that means. Mm-hmm. And so he was just like, he helped make that whole thing happen. It was amazing. And my whole trip was like that. We met in like, we'd go to a party and everyone knows each other. They're all friends. Like the 5 hot music producers in India all hang out together and play Wii tennis and jam. They jam together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they do music jams. So it was just amazing that was my first trip that I then extended. And then I just never stopped going for 3 years. Like 2-3 months at a time. I absolutely loved being there. Studied dance every day. I taught singing. I did the first vocal workshop in India. And so all of that was leading into and had tea, with Shabana in her house, which is remarkable. I would go backstage after a concert and you just walk backstage because there weren't the big gatekeepers. Yeah. And I would meet Zakir Bhai, who's like one of the most renowned tabla players. And I met, oh my gosh, I went and sat in a master class. I sat in a class with the most renowned Bansuri flute player. I want to say Chowsari, that might be right or wrong. I sat in him teaching like his advanced students. I mean, remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Just because the musicianship. I mean, you're talking about people who studied music from the age of 4 for 16 hours a day, and you can't match the excellence of 100,000 hours. One of the sitar players, Ustad, he teaches at UCLA. Ustad, I'm going to need a name. He's a 7th generation sitar player. Oh, and when he plays,
I can't even fathom.
When he plays, I am no longer in my body.
Yeah.
Like I am floating. Like it is a spiritual experience. Mm-hmm. And I've heard many sitar players and people are like, wow, amazing. I'm like, nope. That's technically okay or good, but when this gentleman from Pakistan plays, I'm just like, I am just taken somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then when they stop playing, I'm like, lyrics, and I'm literally typing lyrics. Oh, song ideas are coming because they just moved me into this incredible creative consciousness. Mm-hmm. I'm not kidding. Like during the concert,
you've got, I'm like 7th generation. It's in your fiber. You can't. There's things that you aren't even being taught. You're not even conscious of.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And again, practicing for literally 8 hours and 10 hours a day, which, again, I would tell you, please don't do that. And yet, right, like you said, at some point you have to say, I need to stop and go outside and breathe. And I think finding that balance of
Absolutely.
of I'm thrilled and I'm disciplined and I'm going past my comfort zone, but I'm also like being a father or being a human and enjoying and taking in life and time to inspire. Like, because I can't say this with judgment. It's a completely different cultural experience or lived experience, but we have to find also what works for you.
Absolutely.
And certainly in the drive for excellence, we do sacrifice things. All right. But I don't want you to sacrifice. I don't want anyone to sacrifice their spirit. And I'm not saying they do. I'm just putting that into play as well. Because especially in the West, I think everything becomes, I mean, the West made yoga a competition.
Yeah.
You've just burned the meaning of yoga. So now to get to AR, but that's literally what led me to India.
Yeah. And it's important.
All of that was, And so my second had gone to India, came back, was making the record. We did pre-production in New York and knew that we were going to take it to India then to do all the instrumentation there, the Indian instrumentation. And I went to an AR concert. Again, here's the efforts that were taken. Like I flew to India alone. I landed in a country I don't know at 3 a.m, went to a hotel I found online. I literally only knew 2 people there. I'm talking risk taking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like you have to get way out of your comfort zone for life and I like adventures. So with AR, took a journey out to New Jersey, which was like, an hour, 2-hour process. I talked to the promoters who at that point knew me, because again, Wendy, who goes to these concerts. And I told them I'd really love to go backstage. And like, oh, sure. 10 minutes later, I have a wristband. After the show, Shivamani, who's a remarkable percussionist, is playing with AR. And I've met him before. So on stage, I saw him. And when I came backstage, he looked at AR and looked at me and went, he gave the thumbs up right there. So I'm like, okay. And then the promoter, not kidding, the promoter, who was definitely like a little inebriated and having a good night, like 3 times was like, AR, you met Wendy? Yes. Did you meet Wendy? Like making sure that this, this happened. And I handed him like a studio mix of some of the songs from the album. I was like, I'm making an album. I really believe you're meant to work on it. I really want your hands on it. Here it is. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you. I said, I'll be in India in 2 months and I'd love to connect. That was it. So gave my intention, gave my thanks to him. I mean, obviously.
But no expectation.
No expectation, but also just the intention of like, I'm going to work with AR. Like I truly believe in my heart I meant to. And when we talk about visualizing and meditating, he didn't know this. Actually, he still doesn't know this until he watches this, or I shared this story on my socials. And I was like, well, if he's listening or hears this, now he knows this. So I had pictures rotating on my computer screen for years, pictures of people I want to work with, pictures of people, like things that I want to manifest. And I had pictures of his music studio and pictures of him. And then eventually when I did walk into his studio, I was like, oh, he changed it, because I'd seen it. I've been looking at it for a long time.
You can't make me love you.
Yeah. And he said, oh, we just redid it. And I was thinking to myself, I know. Well, yeah. And so there is like, you have to know yourself. Like, where's your line, right? Like, am I being weird, creepy, and stalkery, or am I manifesting? And also, again, being able to let go. There were so many times I had to let go. So I didn't hear back from him. I went on his website, found an email and said, this is Wendy Parr coming to India. I'd love to meet with you. I got an email back quite quickly that was, here's my number. Call me when you're there.
Great.
AR is very open to working with new talent, very open to working with young talent. He loves to experiment and play. So I got welcomed into his world because he's open to that. And then when we met, talk about gratitude, I was sitting in a hotel lobby waiting for him, and I'm looking around and I was just like, I am the luckiest person. I'm about to meet someone he's the biggest music producer in Southeast Asia, someone I love and admire. I'm like, I'm about to like sit down and have a conversation with someone who's a remarkable human being, musician, producer. He's a Sufi. He's a very spiritual man. And I'm sitting in India. Like, I am so fortunate. So I was feeling so much gratitude for no matter what happens next, as well as I took so much effort to make all that happen, right? Like there was so much I needed. I had to work my butt off in New York so I could take 2 months off to go live in India. There was just, and take the risk, again, go by myself to a country I don't know. And then when we met, he said, I'm opening up a conservatory. I'm really interested in talking to you about vocal coaching and like how to teach teachers and being a part of the conservatory. And I was like, oh, sure, let's talk about that. As a result, I went to Chennai with him. I was interviewed on TV with him and Dr. Subramaniam, and I taught some of teachers, and I really talked to him about building a teaching program that I could help teach teachers so that local people could become voice teachers to then work in the conservatory right, and teach in the conservatory. So we're talking about building something that would be a lineage and that would carry on, not just, oh, I can come be a teacher. How can I be of service to the community here? And then I said, well, I also wanted to meet with you because I, have an album I really want you to work on. He's like, yeah, I have that. It's on my desk. I'm going to a studio right now to work on a project I'm working on. Do you mind taking a drive with me and I'll listen to it? Because I told him I had it. I had it on iPod. I spent about an hour and a half in the car with him, right? I was like, yeah, my time is yours,
Yep.
right? He listened to the whole album on the way and he's like, this is great. The song Javed Saab, the first one that I ever learned, Nashik Hota. AR had done the music for it. It was all electronic, modern synthesizer. And I kept the melody in the Urdu as the core. And then we redid the entire instrumentation with marching drums, snares, and classical, like violin, like super Western with 7/8 rhythm. So in the car on the way, he's like, this is really cool. I'm working on this film. Do you want to write a couple songs for it? No, do you want to write a song for it? And by the end of the ride, it was, do you want to write a few songs and maybe sing on one?
Wow.
And then I spent the afternoon listening to the music that he gave me. And his instructions were write something epic.
No pressure.
No pressure. Also, what's this movie about? So I started writing. And he was like, no, that's not really it. And I was like, can I see the film? Like, I have no idea what this film's about. And so he's like, yeah, we could probably do that. Calls up the director. Can I bring someone over to watch the movie? Take another hour and a half ride with him back. And he'd been working in the other studio while I was in this one. He was working on a theme for the new airport, I believe. And go back, get led upstairs. Again, meet a total stranger. He leaves me in the room to watch his movie. And while watching his movie, I just have a legal pad of paper and I'm scribbling down, and I had like 6 song ideas by the end of the film. And the director comes in and we talk about the film. And I was like, well, here's some song ideas. And I sang him some of the hooks I had. And he was just like, how did you come up with all that? I watched your film. I was like, this is straight out of your dialogue. That dialogue led me to this theme for this song. And I had a bunch of ideas. And he's like, I love them. Let's do it. And so I spent then I got the tracks back from AR and I wrote to them and I wrote a few songs. And then he brought me down to Chennai, which is South India, where his studio is and where he is. So that's when I went to the studio. And AR works overnight. So he records from basically midnight to morning. Right. So I arrive, I slept and took a nap. I came over to the studio in the evening, maybe around 10 o'clock. And then they said he's not ready. So I fell asleep. Now, mind you, jet lag and all kinds of stuff. So I fell asleep in the studio and they woke me up at about 1 a.m. and said, he's here. Are you ready? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. No complaining, right? No, like, oh, it's 1 a.m. Why is this? I mean, again, all of this gratitude, I feel so lucky. Like these dreams I want to make happen are happening. This one I didn't even expect. I'm now writing for a film, a Hindustani film that's in English, a Bollywood film. Okay, amazing. And so we start recording the first one. Now, again, he also looked at my lyrics and was like, I love this, start with that, edit this. And he would ask me to make changes. So after like recording all night, I would need to work during the day to make changes to the song and then catch some sleep and then come back at midnight to sing again. And one of the songs he said, so I know I offered you and asked you to record one of the songs, but I forgot that there's an Australian artist that we've already commissioned to do this song. So do you mind singing the guide vocal? And I literally was like, ego. Because, part of me was like, I'm a singer, right? I was like, right? Like someone else is going to sing this song after me. And I was just like, ego, sit down. You're here to work with A.R. Rahman and write this music. Just sit down. And then another voice in my head was like, no one's going to sing it after you do. Don't worry about it. And then he said, we're going to have my assistant engineer. He started it and they said, I'm going to have my assistant finish this with you. Okay. And I was like, sure. And then he never left and we worked the song completely together. No one else ever sang that song. Actually, I found out maybe a year later, the film never was made and he ended up selling that song to be a commercial, I believe. So my voice is on a commercial for something else with that song. And that was the beginning. I wrote 2 or 3 songs for that project. And then I was going to leave the next day. And he said, hey, I know you're leaving tomorrow, but do you want to stay? Because this is director so-and-so. He's working on a Tamil film and he really who has a song he wants to do. You want to write some lyrics for that? I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. Change my flight. Like, this is what I'm here. I'm like, I came for this. Mm-hmm. Well, there's no have to. I want to, right? But it's like, this is what you came for. Just stay in. Say yes. Stay in. Are you loving this? Yes. On Fridays, his mother, who's since passed, his mother would make homemade biryani. I was a vegetarian the first time I went there. I was not a vegetarian by the second time. She made a lamb biryani and it was homemade food, which I ate out a lot when I was there, obviously, until the time I got there where I got some more homemade cooking. But Fridays she would cook and I would be like, And they all laughed. They're like, just give Wendy a little lamb. It's like fuel in the gas tank. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this food is so good.
Yeah.
And his mom made it with like love. I'm like, again, I'm going to cry. How lucky am I?
Yeah.
I am so grateful. And there were times, of course, I felt like, I didn't feel like an imposter. I'm a foreigner. I don't know the language. I'm dipping my toe in something, right? Like when I say I studied Carnatic music, I'm like, I dip my toe.
Yeah.
Right. Shankar, who's the most amazing singer, he sings Carnatic music. Again, he's been singing it his whole life for hours and hours a day. Like, I'm dipping my toe in something I admire and respect and love, So I think having that awareness and respect and absolute appreciation. I mean, I don't know, again, who doesn't, what I found there is people really appreciated that I appreciated the culture, that I appreciated the music. They absolutely loved that. There was such a warm reception for like, oh my gosh, you're an American in India and you're embracing it. That's wonderful. Right. And so every trip I was in India, I wrote more with AR. And one of the trips, we were going to the Blue Frog, which was a really cool music space where you'd go to see performing, great shows. And my friends are like, hey, we're going to see this amazing guitar player. Do you want to go? And I was like, I didn't really want to, but I was like, I'll go hang out with my friend. And as soon as I arrived, I saw someone who works with AR. I was like, oh, is he here? Because he doesn't live in Mumbai. And so I was surprised. Said, yeah, he's in the back. He's in the studio. Oh, cool. Guys, I'll be back. Walk around to the studio and said, hey, AR's here. I work with him. I'd love to say hi. Here in the States, that would never happen. You don't walk into any recording studio and say, hey, I heard Quincy Jones here. I would like to say hi. Oh, sure. Come on back. Right.
Absolutely.
But it does there. Like the gatekeeping is not as high. And again, also because I'm a foreigner and I said, hey, I work with AR, they take that at face value and say, oh, okay, we trust that. So I had a lot of, some of it was really strange. Like I had privileges that made me uncomfortable, really uncomfortable.
Can you talk to that or no?
Yeah. Just, the world is a caste system. The whole world has a caste system.
Yeah.
India has a caste system. And so there's a cultural one and a financial one. And being a foreigner and they assume I'm wealthy, that is an assumption, but assuming I'm wealthy, a lot of rules didn't apply to me. And just simply waiting in line for something, people would be like, oh, can I help you? And I'm like, oh no, they were here first. And so I passed on some of them. And some of them were amazing because they weren't just my privileges. I think they were also I experienced a lot of times like less bureaucracy and more human understanding. And I say to that to every artist, like, go where the love is. If doors are flying open, go through them. As long as like there's something in there that appeals to you. Like you like the people, you like what you're going to learn, you like the music, you're not going against your integrity, don't hold to, but I'm not the lead singer. I'll be a side keyboard person and you'll tour the world.
Yeah.
And you'll meet amazing people. And you never know what's going to come of. The only time I would say no to that is when you've made a really strong decision and like, I am committed to doing this thing for my well-being in my life. It's the thing I've put off that I've always wanted to do. You will get one last opportunity to ditch it. And that one's the test.
Yeah.
That was the test. That was like, you sure you're committing to that? Because here's a really shiny toy. And that one's the test. But all the others is like, when you do something thinking it's going to be great. I'm going to work with this great producer and it's going to be my big break. That's not real. Put it away. Now, do you like the producer? No, I heard they're really disrespectful and they don't listen to the artist and the money's not that good. Like, look at the actual thing. It's always been a question of, am I supposed to be a singer? Because I've always been a singer. Am I like not fulfilling my role of humanity? But, am I somehow quitting? Right. But I love coaching. I love empowering people. I've never stopped writing. I write with people and for other people. So my songwriting's never ended. And maybe in 5 to 7 years, there'll be the season again for me to say, I'm going to make music. And that album, I could pull out, rewrite some lyrics if I want to, and say because it's so beautiful. Like I really do feel it needs to be heard. And I would also say it could be, I didn't finish it. And I can't say I should have, but I would encourage you to say, like, if you have that type of project and you're just like, finish it and then put it out. Like that would have been a good choice for me to do too. Before I go, no, I'm fully going here. I could have really just said, okay, but finish this first, put it out in the world, let the world hear it, and then shift gears. And today I would probably say, like, I don't say should, because it's not a regret, but there is a question like, oh, should I have finished it and put it out in the world?
Right.
And maybe not. Maybe the whole reason I went to India with the impulse of making a record was to do everything else I did.
And that's part of growing and maturing and looking back with hindsight, right? Because you were a different person prior to India. You were a different person in India, and you were a different
Yes.
person post India as well.
So
And all the chapters in
true.
between.
People would say to me, "Oh my gosh, you lived in India. It must have been so spiritual." I'm like, yes, but not in an Om Shanti Om peaceful kind of way.
Yeah.
In the way that like you are faced to look at yourself and like every thought, judgment, idea you have of how the world should be, and you have to examine how you're being in the world, because India does not function like the West. And so I had to look at myself and be like, okay, Miss Entitled, like, nope. The tailor did not finish your clothes on Thursday. Why are you mad?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like, and I
huge.
was only mad because I didn't bring other clothes. I was like, I was going to wear that, so I don't have other clothes. But actually, it was just like, thank you. I'll see you on Tuesday next week. And when you surrender to the chaos and you surrender to the way things go, instead of being like, right? Like, no.
Dude, every time we talk, my cheeks hurt. This is fantastic. But I know we have to wrap this up. We're over time already. So the one question.
Oh yeah, this is like part 3 now.
I know, right? But and I would love that. The one question that I try to ask every guest, and we're speaking it, we just close that on introspection and looking at yourself. What does life look like right now for Wendy Parr? What are you learning? Where is the love right now? What does life look like kind of day to day for yourself?
So I have 2 big projects. I have a new family with 3-year-old toddlers. They're about to turn 3. So being a parent and being present with my kids and putting my phone in a drawer and take time for myself to just actually be, that's always a lifelong lesson for me. And in being a parent, I'm healing so much. I'm being a parent that I think is the kind of parent each kid needs, not just the one, like I'm being more of a parent that I wanted, but more importantly, I'm being the parent that my kid is asking me to be. And that's just an incredible experience, which is about listening. It's about helping them be kind people, helping them learn. Like I am still learning to regulate my emotions. I never learned that growing up. I am literally learning with my kids as I'm teaching them, right? Like when they do something and I know I'm losing my patience, I'm just like, now when it's like a year ago and I'm still not perfect, but like I get frustrated, I throw things.
Really?
I don't throw at anybody.
Yeah.
I don't, but I'll throw something and I won't. And that's not a good thing. That is an adult who's not regulated, right? And I have kids and I'm like, I don't want to teach them that. So they're now watching me when I'm upset going, okay, I'm losing my patience. And I'll say it out loud. And they will watch me take the 6 breaths that I'm teaching them to take. And then I'll even say to them, you want to take them with me? And my son is just starting to do this. Amazing. Which, I mean, 6 months, he was like, no. And he's the kid that'll throw something. Sure. Right. And I'm teaching him when he starts to get angry, I was like, please don't hurt me. And please don't hurt yourself. And he absolutely responds to that. He's like, yeah, I don't want to hurt you. And I'm like, and because he would want to kick me. And if he couldn't kick me, he'd hit his head on the floor. Right. And so I'd be like, please don't hurt me or yourself. And then he's like, okay, yeah, I don't want to do that. And I'm watching a little kid like whose heart is like, oh yeah, I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt my mom. I'm like, wow. So this is, and teaching them to share and take turns and learn patience. On this side is my other baby of building my business, which is really about empowering artists. Compass is the focus, my artist development program for pro and emerging artists, and empowering artists to really realize themselves. Like, who am I? And what do I want to say in the world? And how do I want to say it? Musically, sonically, with my persona, with my online, everything. Everything is about your message, your purpose. And I'm not telling anyone who to be. I'm helping you see yourself. And then when you show me yourself, I can help you build ideas and big worlds around it. Like, oh, that could be a book. That could be an event. That could be an experience and your meet and greet and then your socials. So that is really about helping artists be true to themselves so that the world is full of art that is authentic and meaningful and someone can stand behind. And that's what's going to resonate with an audience.
In just 2 weeks of knowing you, you've become one of my favorite people. I was so excited this whole week to chat to you and to learn more. and be excited for what tomorrow holds for me after speaking to you even further. You've taught me so much about, going where the love is. I can't wait to wake up with 1,000 extra pounds in my mind. I'm going to do the money manifestation meditation.
It doubles every day. Starts with 1,000 and then doubles.
I can't wait. And
remember, this is not like to pay your bills. This is disposable. Like I get to just spend this.
Absolutely. And just the things that you've shown me of the tiny parts of the Parr method they've been so beneficial. So I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you being so so honest and open with the lowlights and the highlights, and we still have so much to talk about. And I can't wait to meet you when you're in my neck of the woods as well in just a few weeks. For sure.
Yeah, end of October.
So exciting. Wendy Parr, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's just beautiful to share with you, and I appreciate you. And it's, for me, the meaning of life is to make a positive impact on others, and you just gave me an opportunity to do that. So thank you.
Wonderful. All the best.